You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, let's rock and roll. Goodbye, July. Hello, August, as we get closer and closer to the regular season. 68 days away, to be precise. It's the Friday edition, the latest summer edition of Leafs Morning Take, presented by Bet365. What's happening, Rosie?
What is happening? I didn't know that July was over until Vic told me right before we started, so that's a little bit wild. Things are good, though. August is a good month. July was decent, so half the summer left, everybody. No one panic.
Got an update for you. Justin Trudeau was spotted at Katy Perry's concert the other night. How do you feel about that?
Was that yesterday we were talking? Or
2 days ago.
I don't keep up with stuff in the summer. It seems like people are like, what about this? And what about that? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, A, and B, I'm so happy I don't, because there's just so much bullshit that I get consumed with when I'm on my phone a little more than I am at the moment. But Trudeau and Perry, like, are you guys serious? Let's get serious.
That's
Can't
love.
say I'm a fan of either of those two. Not really a fan of either of them, so don't care, I guess is what you could say.
Yeah, I'm trying to bait you. It's not happening. It didn't happen on Wednesday. It's not happening today. But I will tell you, I woke up very, very chipper today, not because it's officially Leo season. My birthday's in 7 days. But we're 11 months away from potential history, dude. And the city of Toronto, so quiet. There's a wedding happening this weekend in Europe, by the way. I wish Connor McDavid just threw a bomb. Like, he's bombed at the ceremony, and he's like, you know what, guys? I'm going to play out the season. I'm not re-signing right now. Imagine what kind of waves that would make on social media in the month of August, eh?
Yeah, I was sitting down around the fire pit with a hardcore Oilers fan, and they're not sure what's going to happen, but they certainly don't like the idea that Leon and McDavid could combine for like $30 million a year. They just don't think you can win like that, even though they are potentially the best two players in the world. And that's even if he does resign. So I don't know. It is funny watching people tap dance and tiptoe around that little situation. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what old Connor's, where his head's at, what he's going to do, what the plan is. I guess we got to wait and find out. But when the best player in the world is teetering on re-signing with a team that has done pretty well in the past and has a very passionate fan base, it's always going to be news.
Draisaitl's getting married, by the way. That's what I'm referencing. A bunch of them are
Over,
I believe, in Paris or Italy, one of those places, getting married. I believe this weekend is Leon Draisaitl after McDavid got married last summer, Rosie.
Fancy pantsy. Yeah, all these boys are growing and they're becoming responsible men. It's very exciting for everyone. Congratulations to all. Can't say I really care about the weddings, though.
No, not. I care more about McDavid being 11 months away from free agency. And Stan Bowman went on the radio the other day and said there's been, I don't even know the way he phrased it. I don't know what kind of talks you need to have with Connor McDavid. It is literally, how much do you want? How many years? Sign the contract. So this bullshit that's going to come out in the next couple weeks, next month, whenever this deal does come to fruition with the Oilers, we all think it's going to happen. How quick does this discussion need to be? Like, I do not understand the optics behind, like, we've talked and we checked in. Like, what are you checking in on?
I don't know. I feel
it's
like
bullshit.
They call
it's
him.
Code for we haven't talked yet. We don't want to scare people. That's what it is.
Well, they probably call every day and he picks up once a week. And how's it going? And they tiptoe around the wedding season and what's going on in the Muskokas and everything good. And you healthy? You feeling good? You need anything? Yeah. See you later. Bye. Yeah, we touched base. We're in a good page. The ball's rolling. Like, what do you say? I don't know. But another thing is, let's just say he resigns. Okay, I know there's hope that he leaves and other markets are like, imagine we get him. Let's put that aside for a second and assume he's going to re-sign. What does he re-sign for? Like, he can kind of name his number. They'll pay him whatever, I'm sure. But like, you talk about Malkin and Crosby and, when they were going through their big contracts, I mean, they just took discount after discount. They looked at each other and they said, hey, let's win this goddamn thing. And let's give the team an opportunity to do that by leaving some cap space open and not maximizing every last red cent we can take. Some people would argue Draisaitl didn't do that, taking 14. I'd kind of argue that in 4 years, what would that make him? 32, 33?
Yeah.
And he's making 14, and there's guys in the league making 17 or 18 for all I know. Now all of a sudden it doesn't look so bad. I'm just curious to what Connor would take in Edmonton. I know this is a Leafs show, but we could face them down the road in the playoffs. Does he maximize his contract, or does he say, hey, I'm going to take exactly what Leon took and leave some on the table for some other people? I don't know.
I think McDavid's case is so different because he needs to be the guy who's paid the most money in the NHL. Like, he's the barometer check for the rest of the league. There's been scuttlebutt that it likely will be somewhere in between 16 and a half and 17 and a half million per season, maybe on a shorter term deal, 3 or 4 years.
No one's won a Stanley Cup with a player that makes over $10 million, and he's going to make 17.
Yeah.
Yikes. I don't know, man. Like, did Crosby not take heat for that, for throwing off the
8-7.
league? And,
Yeah.
he's made 8.7 for his whole life, and his number is 87. It's just this such an obvious thing that he's like, I'll just sit in this sweet spot here and let them cook around me to try to build a winner every year. And he's won Stanley Cups because of it. Is Connor going to do? And I can't stand that. Oh, you're going to throw off the rest. Everyone knows who's Connor McDavid is. Everyone knows what he is worth to the league and to the team. He has to sign for max, or the other agents are going to get mad at him. What if he wants to win a cup? Like, I'm curious about that. Maybe no one will say anything and he'll just maximize it. But the second he's making 17 million and they go on that little slide for a 10-game segment, how difficult is that going to be for him? As opposed to, I'm taking exactly what Leon took, 14, and we're going to try to win here and leave some room to make the team better around me, because I don't need to make 17. And then if they do go through that little stretch, guess what? Media's on Connor's side no matter what. Fans are on Connor's side no matter what. Is there any, you don't feel that at all, or what?
I don't know. It's, what's wild to me is that there could be a scenario where the Oilers pay 3 players in excess of $40 million per season. Like, Bouchard just got 10 and a half.
Good
We
luck.
talked about Draisaitl, and then McDavid, and Nurse is still on the books, and you're looking at close to $50 million for 4 players. And I don't know. I'm just tired of people trolling Toronto. I want to bring it back and give it back to another fan base who always seems to troll Toronto, and that's Edmonton. I want to talk McDavid. I want Leafs fans to get loud. Like, I understand tampering can't be a thing here, but the fan base can be a thing. Like, Connor McDavid, it's not very often players like this potentially are available less than a year away from UFA. He could go down as the best player ever, and nothing coming out of this market. Like, let him know. Let everybody know that, like, we would love this guy in Toronto. I mean, give him free food, free dog food. It's been so quiet in this assumption that is re-signing there. And I just can't get to that point when I see on draft night, or even prior to that, draft lottery night, how just disjointed he looks over the fact that he's going to Edmonton and not Toronto. I'm like, you're telling me he can't look back and live back history and be like, you know what? Here's my chance. It's got to be seeping in at some point in time here.
Yeah, and I don't claim to have a clue what that guy wants, where his head's at.
Well, can you sit here with a straight face and tell me McDavid's winning a Stanley Cup in the next 5 years if he resigns in Edmonton? Like, are we serious here? If we're trying to compare the Maple Leafs and the Oilers right now, I'm not being biased. I prefer the Leafs. I think Edmonton's best shot to win the Cup was this past season. They're legitimately going into this season. They're taking a guy who has never played a game in the NHL and saying, you're playing with Connor McDavid. Yeah, let me know how that goes, Rosie.
Yeah, I mean, that very well could be the situation. I mean, if you go to back-to-back Stanley Cup final appearances and claim like that wasn't your shot, I mean, that doesn't happen every day. It doesn't. That's not easy to do. And if it wasn't for the Florida Panthers, they would probably have a Stanley Cup in their pocket. But and that, like, again, no one's won a cup over 10. You're going to have 40 tied up in 3 guys. Like, how are you going to pay the rest of them? Who are they going to be? And the thing that's good about the Florida Panthers is they just seem to have multiple, like, 30 goal guys that are making 4, 5, 6, 7, and they just roll them. And it's just impossible to stop, where, we've seen it with the Leafs and the core 4. And I understand you can't pass these guys up on draft night. I understand you can't let them walk when it's time to extend them. I get all that stuff, but, like, I think the formula is not too many eggs in the basket anymore. And I think the Oilers very well may run into that. They've got Leon, you're talking about Bouchard. I mean, you've got Draisaitl at like Darnell Nurse at like $9.5 million. Now Bouchard, and then they got to re-sign Connor. I don't know how you can build a team around that. I mean, so far, no one's been able to do it that way. The Leafs even tried as well and had to kind of dismantle it. So it'll be interesting to see. I have no idea where Connor McDavid's head is at. It is, I mean, I think that the chance of him leaving is small, but if he does leave, I think Toronto is the only destination that he would go to. Don't you? Do you see him going anywhere else?
Oh, I don't know. There was whispers during the Cup final. He'd really look at LA or the New York Rangers. I don't buy that. I think it's Toronto or Edmonton. I've incensed a couple people in the chats, and I'm not apologizing about it. For some reason, we have a lot of Oilers fans who watch our show, maybe just to tune into the daily McDavid conversation, but I genuinely feel that way. To your point, it is so damn difficult to even get to a Stanley Cup final. 2 years in a row you've been there and you've lost. It just doesn't. You don't just wake up and are like, "Okay, we're going to go on a run. We're going to make it to the Cup final." Like the Leafs are a perfect example. It's been so long since they've even been in a Cup final, sniffed a Cup final. Like I would love to know in this era of odds, the chances of the Oilers going back to a third straight Cup final. Right? Like it's so hard to do. Like other teams around them are getting better.
I personally didn't think they were going to be able to do it again last year. I poo-pooed the idea that they were one of the favorites coming out of the gate. I just thought they're too volatile. They're too inconsistent. I didn't like their goaltending. But they proved me wrong and they got back to the final. It was impressive. I don't know who they're going to surround with. I mean, they're getting rid of guys that I think are guys that you need. I don't think they've added what they've lacked. I don't think they've gotten better, I guess is what I'm saying. And, you need to go out and try to add. But when, we talk about the contracts that we're talking about that are potentially going to be on the table here, and I guess I understand that Connors doesn't kick in this year if he does re-sign there, but there's just too big of money thrown around. It's a copycat league. You're going to go with what works, and people are getting bigger. They're getting tougher. They're getting meaner, and they're getting more spread out and more of a well-rounded team as opposed to superstars. And I don't know, even Connor McDavid, when he's playing against a team like that, and you've seen it in the final 2 years in a row, you just can't skate through teams like that every time by yourself. It doesn't work. It doesn't really matter how good you are. Yeah, you're going to have that highlight reel thing once in a series, but I just don't think you can win it. And they didn't win it last year or the year before, and I just don't see them being better this coming year.
At any rate, the clock is ticking. Again, 11 months today, and Connor McDavid could be a free agent July 1, 2026. Probably still a pipe dream, but something to think about this weekend as Leon Draisaitl, his best friend, gets married. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show? Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. I thought that'd be a nice little exercise, Rosie, because this is going to be a fun podcast today. We're going over hot takes, all Leafs-related hot takes for 25-26. We've sourced social media, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, wherever the hell we're on, Twitter. You and I are going to give some hot takes as well. This should be a fun episode, so I thought that would be a really good exercise to get everything going in the mind a bit.
Yeah, and I never know if like a hot take, like, does that mean, like, if you throw out a hot take, does that mean you think it's going to happen and you're endorsing it? Or is it just maybe a hot something to think about, throw it out there and see what people think? I never know, because I'm like, I don't want to be married to this idea just because I throw it out on a show like this. But fun times nonetheless. And it seems like fans always have fun coming up with their ideas of their own.
I believe our official arbitrator for our hot take should be producer Vic. One of the best in the business. Did hot takes 3 times a week for like 6 months. So he's going to tell us if it's a hot take or not. By the way, our former producer, Aaron Bordato, who lives in Edmonton, covers the Oilers for Oilers Nation. He writes in, McDavid is not leaving. 17.5 million is my guess. So Aaron is watching Leafs Morning Take on a Friday morning because I think he saw the template for the show. It said 11 months with the googly eyes and a king hat. He knew exactly who we're trying to map out, and that is Connor McDavid. So hello to all our friends out in Edmonton at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Point Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Sorry to interrupt you. What'd you say?
Just surprised Bordato's up this early. How are you?
I know, man. That's early for the kid.
Yeah. What a guy. Just a professional through and through, watching all the shows throughout the company. I'm impressed, but not surprised.
He's a company man, and one of my favorite pastimes is going out to Edmonton and just getting after with Bordsy during the Cup final a couple years ago where the Oilers lost. This year when they lost, I wasn't there. Next year when they lose, I won't be there, unfortunately. But we love our friends out in Edmonton, Oilers Nation. Check them out. They won't even discuss Connor McDavid right now because I have a keen eye on the content happening over at Oilers Nation. Our friends over at Flames Nation do a great job. They know what's cooking. They know what's happening. But the folks at Oilers Nation won't even acknowledge the McDavid talk.
I know, and I wonder what they truly think. I like that guy's so hard to read, Connor McDavid.
I know.
Legit hard to read. I think he's got something going on. He's got some hyper-focused deal. He's a superstar, whatever. And I think you got to be that way to be as good at one singular thing as Connor McDavid is. But I don't know. Again, I talked to some of the more hardcore ones, and they're just it's pretty clear they don't know what's going to happen, and why would they? But it's a touchy subject, no doubt. They get a little fired up when you even mention him leaving, which makes me chuckle, and I get it. God, they had the decade of darkness and got this McDavid, and they got to the final twice, but it's just more torment. Again, I've said since day one of this pod, there's a lot of parallels between the Oilers and the Leafs in a lot of different ways, and it just makes me chuckle to think of them. And yeah, we talk about them a fair bit, but they've been to the final twice, and that's hard to argue with. And the best player in the world coming up for UFA from Toronto, obviously it's going to come up. So settle down, folks.
Okay, Leafs talk. So of the 11 players to file for salary arbitration this month, only Nick Robertson, only guy who's going to arb. And I feel bad for the arbitrator. It's happening on Sunday of a long weekend. He's probably not in Ontario, to be honest, but it's happening on Sunday. The numbers officially filed earlier today. The team looking for $1.2 million. The players looking for $2.25 million. My question is, from Robertson's aspect, is it worth the fight? You know the Leafs are going to be packing heat in this arbitration case. Is it worth the fight to go in there if you're Robertson in his camp and just be stripped to the bone? That's my question. Maybe it is over $1 million and 2.5 or 1.25 million bucks.
Yeah, I know they're kind of far apart. It sounds like
they meet in the middle, probably, right?
That's the idea, right? But you're really going to have to strip him down to try to keep that down to the number you're looking at. I don't know. This saga continues with Raw. I mean, you look at his numbers, and 15 goals is, it's 15 goals. There's guys that aren't around that area, and I get those are going to be his comparables. I do better than this guy, and why am I not valued here? And maybe, I don't know, maybe Nick needs to just go to someplace else and try to have some success. I know that his consistency is the issue, but he's going to argue that's not true. Look at my points, look at my numbers, and this amount of games played. Here's why do I keep becoming the whipping boy? And I just, at some point in time, this relationship of sign me, we don't want to, okay, we'll sign you, okay, I guess I'll sign that. It's just, now it's an arbitrator. And again, we've talked about arbitration on this show. I would just hate going through the process. And if it's the way it used to be done, like you say, you sit there and just get stripped apart and then try to shake hands after and act like they're all about you and excited to have you on the fucking team. It's wild. But I don't know where they'll land. So let's say it lands in between those two numbers. He signs it up and he's back. I still think he's fighting for a roster spot. I still think he has to make this. I still think it's going to be more difficult than last year rather than easier, just because I think some depth within his wheelhouse where he plays in the lineup and the depth chart is going to be a little bit more packed, and he has to do more. He always has to do more to prove his spot in the lineup, on the team, on the roster, in the league. And while his good is quite good, his bad is pretty non-existent. And that's just that consistency that he needs. I don't think you can talk about Nick Robertson without mentioning the word consistency, as if he could just provide some of his better play and production on a more consistent basis, I don't really think we'd be talking about him that much as far as should he be here, should he not. But that's been the theme for like 3 years now.
I think 1.7 around there seems like a fair market value number for Nick Robertson, especially with the salary cap going up. I think they'll find a way. The arbitrator will rule somewhere in the middle. I don't think he's worth 2.25 mil. I don't think he's worth 1.2. Made 875 last year. Had scored 15 goals in 69 games, 22 points. But I just don't know how the conversation goes. Like, there's just so much they can say that has accrued over X amount of years when it comes to Nick Robertson. And while he just works so hard, it just doesn't seem to translate to on-ice success consistently in the NHL in Toronto. And I think both sides are aware that maybe a change of scenery is the best direction. And from the Toronto perspective, I understand why it hasn't happened yet. I think we're at a point where they're looking for a certain price point on a potential trade and it hasn't been offered. And they're like, we don't want to lose this asset for nothing. But I think we're trending towards a direction where Robertson's just put on waivers and somebody's either going to pick him up or he's going back to the AHL. Like, that's my feel, at least.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, that very well could. So you think re-sign him and then potentially waivers, and if he gets picked up,
well,
if not, we can use him.
They're going to settle on a number. He's going to go into camp likely if he's not traded. And I think they're going to figure out rather quickly, I don't know where the hell this guy's playing. I think you look at the top 9, pretty much spoken for. We haven't even really included Easton Cowan yet. He's not playing on the 4th line. Like, there's literally no spot for Nick Robertson right now.
Yeah, I know it is tough. I mean, you can always come into camp and wow and force their hand. And he's had.
Would that work though? Like, because if you remember last year, he had a pretty decent camp, didn't he?
Yeah, I know, but pretty decent isn't going to do it. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying this road to being on this team is quite difficult, and they may be openly talking about wanting a trade. And again, what the return is and what's been proposed and who's been interested, I have no idea. But obviously it hasn't gotten over the finish line. And yeah, I think that you'd have to do something special, I guess is my point, in camp to get that spot and really make it difficult on them. And that's what they challenge you to do every camp. Like, make our job hard. Do not expect that this roster is in stone or even complete or even on the whiteboard right now. Like, we want to see who's got what and who's willing to do what. And, you can go earn a spot. I mean, that's still the reality, and that's still what a player should have in their mind. But yeah, you start crunching names and numbers, and it's going to take something pretty special for him to crack that lineup on any kind of a consistent basis. That being said, we've gone through injury troubles before. Things happen. Guys have to get surgery. You lose guys for the season. Stuff happens. It would be nice to have a guy like him who is capable of playing at a pretty high level when he's on his game, to have him in the arsenal or have him in the minors where you could call him up and use him if things go south. That's got to be in the back of their mind too.
As soon as this time ends in Toronto, people are going to be like, oh, how do they just do that? They need goal scoring on this roster, and they just dealt a goal scorer who scores for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But as some of you have astutely put in the chat, he was magnificent in the preseason last year. And he had his moments. Like, we chuckled throughout the year because he would get scratched, he would come back, he would score. It happened in the playoffs. But I think you hit the nail on the head: consistency. And that's the big thing, I think, that differentiates full-time NHLers from guys who are just fringe guys. I don't want to call him a fringe guy. I think on a lesser team, he's probably more of a prolific figure. And people argue he hasn't got his opportunity in Toronto. I don't buy that. I just don't think he fits what they're trying to build right now. And that's a bigger body roster, a physical roster, to be successful in the playoffs. And he's a smaller type player.
I think people think he hasn't got opportunity because he'll leap off the screen for 2 games, and then everyone's like, "Ooh, Nick Robertson really looking good. Like, could he be like his brother?" And then all of a sudden, he doesn't do anything for 8 games, and then people are like, "Well, he hasn't really got the opportunity to do that again." It's like, yeah, he has, but you just have not even heard him, seen him, or noticed him in 5, 8, 6, 7, 8 games, and that his capabilities are like the first 2 games where he was popping off and looked really good. And again, I have trouble knocking him because when I watch him play out there, God, he's working. Like, it's frustrating watching a guy where it's like, I wish you played like this, but you're playing at about half the intensity, half the effort level. Yeah, you can be backdoor once in a while and bury one and get on the sheet, and it's to tie the game with 4 minutes left, and you look pretty great. But when they're not working and the effort isn't there, it can sure be frustrating. And I'm fine with moving on from guys like that and being like, get him out of here if he's not willing to fucking do anything different. But then there's Nick Robertson. I mean, you watch him and he is just working, trying to accomplish things, trying to invoke change and try to put his stamp on the game. Again, it doesn't always lead to anything. I wish it was a little more physical. He's not that player, but his work ethic is there, I guess. And you certainly can't knock him for that. Anytime there's a player just moving his legs and burning himself up, just trying to get to places. And I really got to tip my cap to that, because not everyone does that. And that bothers me, because it's everyone's capable of doing it. And I like Nick Robertson for that, if nothing else. But again, just can't seem to find a way to accomplish enough out there to justify a regular roster spot.
The little engine that could. That's what I look at Nick Robertson. And you're so right. You can never question his work ethic. Like, I would love to transfer his work ethic to other players. We're not going to name players.
Yeah.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So we've been having a lot of fun throughout the offseason thus far. I tasked you, the Leafs fans, Rosie as well, myself included, for some Leafs hot takes for 25 26. Of the list that were submitted, I put together a couple that we can deliberate around. Now, let's start with this one off the top. This hot take coming in, Austin Matthews hits 70 goals. How do you feel about that, Rosie, especially with Robin not being there anymore?
I don't see it happening. I don't think it needs to happen. How he looked last year, all year, and in the playoffs at the end of the year, I don't see it. It was pretty cool.
You know what
when
I
he
was
got
thinking
69.
too? You know what I was thinking too? Like the first preseason game, I will be on edge because I want to see how he looks, right? I think we'll find out really, really quickly. Are we getting the Matthews from the 69 goal season? Or are we getting the guy who just was laboring all season long last year?
I know. And I don't know how vocal I've been about it, but my fear is that he's always going to be laboring. Like, there's some whispers about whatever's going on with his health and where he's at physically. It's just something he's going to have to learn to live with, people have said. And I'm like, what is this? Like, even with your back or your spine or your wrist or your neck or your hips, like, what can't you fix these days with every resource in the world available to you? I don't know, but I do fear that, for the entire year, we're like, okay, Austin, take some time off and get healthy. And, oh, he's going to miss this, or he's going to fly here and see this guy. Okay, like, we're just waiting for him to be healthy. And he was just laboring to the point where he's just kind of felt like he was just like lobbing him at the net and not even able to hit it. So I agree with you. We'll be watching with, a magnifying glass going, what does Austin look like? And if he has that dynamic, like just crank the hips, fucking ripping it like he did when he almost put up 70, we'll be like, man, he's like, something's different here. And if not, I don't think 70 is even in his picture probably for the rest of his career. I mean, that's an insane number.
It's funny. We're having family dinner on Sunday, and my brother brought up the video. He's like, what were you thinking when the Draisaitl Matthews comparison? I was like, no, I wasn't drunk, believe it or not. Like, I think we forget when Austin Matthews is on top of his game, how great of a goal scorer this guy is. And he's unmatched. There is no comp in the league, whether it's Ovechkin or Draisaitl. Guy scored 69 goals in the season. That's all I was trying to say by starting up and heating up that debate. But I think you're so right. Like, how he comes up is going to be so important to the success of this team. Along those lines, I can't see 70 goals. I think that's a bit rich. I think my threshold, which I want in my head, is around 50 to 55. I'd feel comfortable with for Matthews. Like, I think he's going to bounce back. This guy scores goals in his sleep, man.
Yeah, and he very well could do that. I hope that he does, obviously. It's not quantity, it's quality to me, you know. Bang in the important ones. I don't need you getting 4 in October. I don't need you, to just pile on in these crazy ways, which he's done in the past, which is great. I would rather have that clutch one down the stretch to bump up a spot in the division, or obviously playoffs where we need one and it's hard and we're, battling against an evenly matched team and
Yeah.
they've got momentum and we're throwing everything against the wall trying to get something to stick, and then there's Matthews that just pots one and says, boom, I'm the guy that you come to score the big one that's going to make the difference. I want that over some silly number in the regular season, like, honestly. And he's capable of it's to your point, we're talking about 50-55 being like, yeah, I guess we could settle for that. There's not a lot of guys that can put up 50,
No.
and he is so good and has done it so much. I mean, he's got a Hart and 2 Rocket Richards. He's in the conversation for, being of just an insanely ridiculous generational goal scorer, yes, but to me, it's got to be quality this year over quantity.
Here's another hot take that caught my eye from Twitter. William Nylander records his first 50-goal season.
50 rippies? Yeah, that'd be all right. I mean, I have 100 points on my mind too. Is he capable of getting to a hundo? And, there's going to be more ice time spread around to him. It's possible, man. Willie's kind of a funny guy. He can sure pop off. And, if his attitude's right and his work ethic's right and his buy-in is right and his commitment to the other side of the game is right, I mean, Craig Berube is going to have, I think, a lot of trust in this guy. I know that they like each other. Or Chief likes Willie and lets Willie be Willie. And yeah, if he wants to heat up and say, oh, here's an opportunity for me to really take another step up and remind people who I am and what I'm capable of in the absence of Mitch Marner and some of the touches that he's going to get where Mitch might be out there, I think there's going to be opportunity for him to pop off and have a special season. What that looks like numbers wise, we're going to have to wait and see.
Tell you what, the way last season started with the marriage there, Berube and Nylander, I was like, oh boy, we're in for a long season. If you recall, I think he played 1.5 games as center, and then they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. And I'm like, here we go. But they found a nice little buffer zone. And I know we heard from Craig Berube about a month and a half ago on a podcast out in Philadelphia, a couple of your buddies. And he was saying how much he really enjoyed working with Willie Nylander. And I think they found that nice little zone between coach and player. And it's great to see, honestly.
Yeah. And again, it's just this year's kind of exciting because I think that they're trying to build a team that's more of a team that's not reliant on 3 or 4 guys to get multiple points every night in order to have a chance of win. It should be a little bit more well-rounded team. It should be a grittier team. And Craig Berube is going to try to take the players that end up on the roster and try to mold them into that. With that, Willie Nylander, he's going to have a lot of buy-in. He is going to have a lot of opportunity, and it's going to be interesting to see who's leading this charge and what do they look like. And I don't know, Craig Berube's had a year under his shoulders, the whole core 4 thing, and just this, just this tightrope walk of like, do we stay with this or do we not? Now a domino has fallen. They've inevitably made change. They've brought in new guys. There's question about whether they're good enough or not. I really think that the reason the Florida Panthers are so good, I don't think Paul Maurice gets enough credit. He has developed a culture of this is what we're doing and you need to buy in. And Seth Jones talked about that. He's been around the block. He gets traded there and he goes, oh my God, like the systems they have in place and the buy-in to their identity is so strong that you just get caught up in it. And I think Craig needs to implement that with the Maple Leafs and say, this is the way that needs to be played. I don't really care if we get 110 points. I don't care if we win the Atlantic. We need to set ourselves up to know how to go to battle in a 7-game playoff series against anybody. And I'm just excited for that journey to start at training camp and to see where that man can take this team. And if all goes well and they get that buy-in, I mean, they could be a really good team at the end of the regular season, and then it'll be exciting. But again, you got to get there, and it's a journey. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be easy, and there's going to be ups and downs. But inevitably, Willie Nylander is going to be, one of those tips of the spear that's going to need to be rocking and rolling.
Matias Maccelli hits 80 points riding shotgun next to Matthews. That is wishful thinking. I think my barometer is around 50 points for Michelli. If he gets more than that, I'm feeling pretty damn good about life. 80 points is rich in my world.
I think it's higher. Like, wasn't 58 points his career high?
Coming
With
off a down
piece of
year,
shit
transition to
Coyotes?
like an yeah.
I think it's higher. Like, again, this is wishful thinking. This is
Yeah.
a hot take. I get it, but 80 is a bit rich. But let's just say he just finds chemistry with an Austin Matthews. Like, remember, like you said, sometimes when everything Austin touches goes in the back of the bloody net. We've seen it
Easy.
before.
Yeah.
And Michelli all of a sudden is like, "Fuck, I love where this Matthews guy is." We got Matthew Nice to go get the puck, and we get it in the zone all the time. I just feel like I watch the play develop, I get it, and I just know where Matthews is, and all I have to do is get it somewhere near him, and it's in the back of the net. And all of a sudden, bang, 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 we're talking about the point streak. We're talking about how much he's rattling off. I mean, on the dog shit Phoenix Coyotes or Arizona Coyotes, he was
Yeah.
putting up 58, I think, and I don't think that 70's out of the wheelhouse, but it's going to have to be some serious chemistry. He's going to have to pop off and get hot, and they're going to have some things fall in place, no doubt. But that is the idea when you get a player like him, is to, exceed expectations and really find the chemistry with his line mates.
Yeah, Michelli intrigues me because they obviously brought him in to play in the top six, but just because you bring in a player to play in your top six doesn't mean it's going to work. And so I'm curious to see how that looks on the ice. Of course, we're reciting and talking about the season a couple of years ago. He's coming off a really bad season. I mean, Utah doesn't trade the guy if they feel highly about him. I know we had Bill Armstrong on. They got, a third rounder that turns into a second if he hits a certain number. But we talked about intriguing players last week. Michelli is close on that list for me, for sure. Top 5 for sure. Leafs will have 4 players with 40 or more goals. How do you feel about that? We think Matthews will get there. I think by process of elimination, Nylander. I think people thinking maybe Tavares got 38 this past season. And does Matthew Nyes enter that conversation? Is there somebody else out there that you want to throw into the puzzle?
40 is a big number. 40 is a big number.
Is.
I don't know if it's fair to expect Jonathan Tavares to have a better goal scoring season than he did last year. But we do know he's capable of it. And if he did, it would just be the same talk that was last year. Like, man, this guy's ageless. Like, we didn't think he'd be this good at this point in time. Depends on the cam, what's clicking, staying healthy, all those things. Matthew Nyes, can he get to 40? He'd have to pop off pretty hard again. Like, you're talking about these things, if they happen, things went really well, right? You found the chemistry, you found line mates that you click with, you stayed healthy, team was doing well. All those things have to happen. And I mean, every step of the way, Matthew Nyes has blown people's hair back and what he's capable of. And again, it's not much different than the Michelli scenario where you're playing on the first line, you're digging out pucks, you guys all know where your role is on what to do in what zone. You know where the other one is, and whatever you seem to do bears fruit, and all of a sudden you're at 30, 34, 36. There's still runway left in the season, and Matthew Nyes pops off 40. Yes. Willie, we're talking about having a big game. Austin's capable, obviously, of getting 40. We're talking 50, 55. So tall order to get all those guys on board. I kind of think that JT is going to be hard. It's going to be hard to pop off the way he did last year and approach 40. So that is a spicy hot take, but there's 4 guys that, I mean, it's not out of the consideration of capabilities for any of those guys to do it. All of them, bit of a tall order, but it's fun to throw around.
There are no guarantees, but if I had to put money, it would be Nylander, it would be Matthews, then that's probably it. I concur with you on John Tavares. That's just a really tough number to get to. You got to be healthy first and foremost, and you got to be producing consistently. And I just, Nyes and Tavares are the 2 I wonder about on that front. This one's a really good one. I mean, there's this belief for some reason, it's because Toronto hasn't picked up somebody to play with Matthews and Nyes, that Max Domi could fall and land on that line. He's in a weird spot right now because I don't know if he fits on the third line, obviously with Nick Waugh coming in, Dakota Joshua as well. But this hot take suggests Domi's notching 60-plus points in 25-26. I mean, that is the definition of a hot take. In year one with the Leafs, he had 47 points in 80 games. Last year, he had 33 in 74. His best season, by the way, was way back when in his rookie campaign. He had 52 points in 81 games. So this is the definition of a hot take. How do you feel about it? 60-plus points for Max Domi.
Well, I'm telling you, I've been looking at his DB quite a bit. I mean, what is 72 points in Montreal back in 18-19?
That's my
That
mistake,
is,
too. I know I said his best before is 52. That's right. 72, he had his best season with Montreal. Yeah.
and that's heads and shoulders above the rest. I mean, his rookie season, he had 52, played the whole season, and it's funny, like it's in there, right? It's in there. He has the capability to do it. He has in the past. It's been spotty, and you could call him a suitcase, with how he's bounced around to different teams in the league. He appears to be a really good guy, a really good teammate. When I've met him, I was totally impressed with. He just comes off as a really solid guy that you want to be around. Big smile on him, energetic, and I like the way he plays the game. I think there's opportunity for him to be, he could turn into a legend in Toronto if he stuck around, wanted to play his nuts off and emulate Darcy Tucker a little bit. I mean, he's got that toughness. He's got a little bit of grit. He can finish his checks, get in people's face. I remember when he's chucking hands like his dad, and everyone's like, oh, baby, there it is. He's got some of his dad in him. And again, not saying he needs to do that, but if you want to play like the Stanley Cup champions and you want to do the things that they do and you want to take their spot one day, it's going to take that kind of shit. And to me, you don't have to have a 60-70 point season. I just want you to play with some grit. I want you to play consistently every single night as hard as you can. I want you to be mean. I want you to crash the bloody net. And yeah, I want you to jump on your opportunities offensively when you get them. And what the number is, I don't know. You can have as hot a take as you want with Max Domi, but to me, there's opportunity for him to do well. And I think that if he does the right things, he could be a leader in this new identity of the Maple Leafs and what they want to do and how they want to play. I think he could be a guy that really blazes the trail and says, guys, I get what Craig's talking about here. Follow me. This is what it's going to look like. He could be one of the guys that absolutely leads the charge there.
Honestly, I'd be happy if he gets like 50, 55 points. I'd probably be happy with Max Domi and what he brings to the table. But ultimately, people have him pegged for that top six, and we'll see what happens there at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll just gloss over the last couple here, source from social media, and pipe up if you want to talk about them. Nye scores 40 goals. We've sort of touched on that already. Leafs will win the President's Trophy, and the Leafs will finish with a better record than 24-25. By the way, last year they had 108 points. They were 52-26 and 4. From a team standpoint, are those really hot takes? Like, how do you feel about them moving forward?
My hot take with the team is that they won't at any point in time be leading the Atlantic all season long. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I think they're going to need to really work on their team character, on their I'm even tired of saying the word identity. But their blueprint on who they are, they're going to have to work on it this year. There's going to be some ups and downs, but the whole goal is to get to the playoffs and be like, we're ready. Because and it's kind of the opposite of the past. The past, they're shooting the lights out. They're winning 7-3, and their power play's hot. And Mitch had this many, and Austin had this many. And look, what's Austin on pace for now? And winning Rocket Richards, and that's all great. But again, I've said on this show, I think the disparity between the regular season and the playoffs is as big as it's ever been. And these guys are used to playing their junior hockey where it's, they don't think about hitting, and they think about, dangling and making the high end backhand pass. And sometimes that comes to fruition because everyone else out there is playing the same style of hockey and it looks great. But when the rubber hits the road and it's the playoffs and there's men playing for the Stanley Cup, it's going to get difficult, and that shit's not going to work. And it's okay with me if they don't get 108 points. It's okay if they don't win the Atlantic. I just want them ready to go against a really good team in the playoffs and go the distance in 7 games. That's it.
So I have 3 hot takes of my own. And I agree with you. I think it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think the Florida Panthers are a perfect example of that. But it's just funny, dude. We talked all year how important it was to win the division. Now we're like, just pace yourselves. You'll be good for the start of the playoffs. But I'm very curious in general with the division. I think Montreal's improved the most. Buffalo still sucks. Detroit got a goalie, but I think they still suck. Ottawa, probably the same team. They don't really make that many ads. Lars Eller's like their big ad. Arthur Kaliev as well. Florida's going to be Florida. They re-signed their guys. Tampa's effectively the same team. I honestly think the division's wide open for like 3 or 4 of these teams right now. But I got 3 hot takes that I came up with. One of which, the Leafs will play in a conference final game for the first time since 2002. I think they're in good position to push through. I'm not going as far as to say they're going to win a Stanley Cup, but I think they're finally going to win a second round series and move on to a conference final. Like, I think I hate saying this, they're right there, but I think they have a better roster equipped today than they did 2 months ago to go on a lengthy run and be successful and produce and all that fun stuff in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that's one of them right there.
But how are they going to get by the Panthers if Mitch isn't there to pull the shoot on the half wall and do a spinner?
Dude,
on
at some point, yeah, you're right. You're right. No, at some point, like the Panther, I get what you're saying, and we're laughing about it. And I think they want to play that North-South brand. And you can't forget, like, I know they got ran out of the building, but they did take the Panthers to Game 7. We joke about the Leafs being the second best team in the league, but you would have to think at some point in time the Panthers show up to the playoffs and are like, check, please. Not this year. We don't want to go to elbow room anymore. We just want a long summer where we can work out, travel a bit, maybe play in the World Championship and take their check and call it a night. And I just think the amount of games has to catch up to you. It caught up to Tampa. It's caught up to other teams like Pittsburgh in the past. At some point in time, that's sort of my thinking on that behalf. Like there's going to be a season where somebody pushes through that's not Florida.
Oh, maybe Bobber gets hurt and they're just too far away. Like something could happen. You never know. They're the front runner for good reason, but even the best dynasties fall at some point for some point in time, and that's a lot of hockey that they are playing, no question. Staying healthy could be a deal. Maybe the wheels start to spin a little bit, and those guys aren't used to it. All they've done is win for 3 years, it seems like, and they seem unstoppable, and they're cocky as could be. All of a sudden, their wheels start to spin a little bit, and they're going, well, they don't know, like, what the hell they're not used to this situation, and pieces start falling off the vehicle, and all of a sudden they're not. Who knows, right? Again, people, their fan base is probably laughing, saying, "Yeah, good luck at that," or keep telling yourself that. That's fine, but. The reason I wanted to win the Atlantic last year is because of who we'd get to play. I thought that made a difference. And again, they did have a good run against the best team in the world and made it to 7. I can't believe they had them down 2 rip, and including like in Game 3, they had them down 2 goals. It's unbelievable, but it shows how good they are to come back from that and inevitably win the series. But I wanted them to win the series because of the way their team was built. I thought they had to just be popping off with offense and dominating and racking up points down the stretch when other guys are resting their guys and really go in just because of the way the team's built. I think this is going to be a grittier, higher character team than it has in the past. And I know they don't have the splash maybe that some people want, but we've had the splash and it's led to nothing as far as playoff success. Now I want this team to be a little like just more character when the going gets tough and their backs against the wall, and I think they can band together and fucking start to pour the coals to the other team and have them on their heels and them scrambling and them questioning what they're supposed to do, looking with that dry hair and that stunned face. Someone else can do that for a turn. Maybe we'll have the gumption and the chemistry and the team understanding of who they are to push through this year. And I think that's what they're going for. It is exciting. Will it work or not? That's why we're going to watch, but interesting nonetheless.
That's exactly it. And I still laugh over this, that for the last decade, people are like, this Leafs team sucks. They can't win with 4 players. Now they don't have the 4 players, and it's like, now they suck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, which side is it? And how about this for a scenario? How about the Leafs get in via wild card and they make their way to the conference final via the Metropolitan Division, and they play the Panthers in the conference final? That'd be a nice little series.
Ooh, spicy. Yeah, that it would be interesting to have that crossover. I wouldn't mind it. It's kind of, you're kind of tired of playing the same teams, and um, I don't envision them winning the division. I don't, and
Yeah.
there's not, depending on how the season's going and what division you're talking about, but there's not a huge disparity between the wild card and first or second. There's really not, and that could easily happen. They still be a very good team, and that would be an interesting way, and I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen, and that's how they got to their next conference final. It would make sense. But fun stuff nonetheless. They're still going to be a good team. They've got the pieces in place that gave them success last year, and it's just all about how that thing gels, man. You just never know how 20 some guys in a room are going to come together, and that's always the fun part of a new season.
In support of Sick Kids, Patty Mafia, thank you so much for the super chat. Do the Leafs beat the Panthers with McDavid?
Well, who are you losing to get McDavid? Who's coming off the roster to get him on?
Yeah.
I mean, you had a guy like that to any roster. That team just got better, I think, by default. So as close as they were last year, I would say, yeah, they would.
Two more hot takes and we'll wrap here that I put together. One of them is combining Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. My hot take is that Austin Matthews will record more points than Mitch Marner in 25-26. And it's more so because Vegas really hasn't had like a season high score. Like Jack Eichel just set that mark. I think it was 94 this past season. And I think there's going to be a bit of turbulence when it comes to Mitch Marner. Like, all he knew was Toronto. I mean, even growing up, and now he goes directly across the continent pretty much, and he goes to Vegas. And it's like, I think there's going to be a transition period. And I think from Matthews' perspective, long summer of training and just getting right and coming back motivated, not having Mitch Marner with you, I think we get back to Hart Trophy looking Austin Matthews. So I'm predicting more points for Matthews than Marner this season.
I kind of had a little spicy one with Nylander, cresting the 100-point threshold and overshadowing Mitch. And people get annoyed, oh, why are you talking about Mitch still? Well, he was a big part of the organization. It was a very, very polarizing debate on whether you extend this guy or continue with the core four. Or are you banging your head against the wall or doing the same thing over and over again? Major polarizing decision. Now the people that did get what they wanted and they broke it up and we're going to go in a different direction. Now they want to see, well, what does that look like? And was he right? And was he the superstar you should have built around? And what's his success level going to be like in Vegas? Personally, if I was a Vegas fan, I'd say, you know what, Mitch can come here. He doesn't need to get 100 points. He just needs to be that guy that does his job at this spot in time, on this position, on this line, pop off and complement everyone around you. Again, I don't think you need to have those ultra superstars to win a cup. History says you need a more well-rounded, blended team to win, where everyone's pulling on the same direction. So it's going to be interesting. But Matthews, Nylander, Marner, they're all capable of getting that 100-point threshold. I think, even though Willie hasn't done it, this could easily be his year again. That's a hot take, saying Willie is going to get more points than Mitch Marner this year. You could talk about the power play as well. You could say the power play is going to be better this year than it was last year. I mean, for how much money was on it, it was so discombobulated at sometimes. I think they got themselves figured out at points where their numbers actually, I think they're 24% last year. Not bad, but there was times last year where it was just grotesque, and I could have a hot take saying I think their power play is going to be better this year than it was last year.
This perhaps my hottest take of the podcast today to wrap. It involves Bob McMahon. My hot take is that Bob McMahon will score 25 plus goals this season. And I feel strongly about this. I think he's one of those guys because of the postseason he had. I mean, we're looking at Bob McMahon like he's Nick Robertson. He's not, okay? He uses his size. He uses his speed. He's got really, really strong finishing ability like Nick Robertson. I think there's a spot for him in the top six, whether it's putting Michelli on the right wing and then you put McMahon with Tavares and Nylander, a line that combinations had a lot of success in the past. And most importantly, it's a contract year. It's crazy what motivation can do to a player. And if he catches fire, I think he stays on fire. And I'm predicting 25 plus goals for Bob McMahon in 25-26.
Ooh, doggy, what do you have last year? 18 or so, I believe.
Yeah.
And there was points in time where he was hot. And then cooled off. Yeah, the consistency is going to be the thing with me, what his outlook is on a contract year after a disappointing playoff performance and finish to the season, I guess, when there was a point in time where things were going really well for him. So I'm sure he'll be a motivated player. I do like him. His shot is ridiculous. I'd like to see, I don't know, it's always going to be a theme, but a little more intensity, like a little more, like I will force this to happen. If they take, the middle away, I will drive it so fucking wide and take it to the net that I don't care if I have to blow right through your goalie. Like, I'm taking this to the net. Like, I don't stop for anything. I want that mentality out of Bobby McMahon. Good Wainwright, Alberta boy. He's capable of it. And I hope he's playing with the right players. I hope he's healthy, and I hope he's motivated. And there's a chance he could have a big year, and 25 goals is not out of the realm of possibility.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. Any golf you're looking at? I guess I'll look at the Blue Jays tonight on the run line. Maybe they're motivated by their trade deadline pickups, and they're playing Michael Wacha's pitching for the Kansas City Royals. Not an overly good team, so I'm going to take the Blue Jays on the run line in that game. Money line's not looking great enough for me to do it, so I'm going to take the run line. Jays over by more than a run and a half in that game.
Oh, baby, this time of year is not my best for being involved in whatnot, but I think it's the Wyndham Championship in golf. Oh, my goodness. They need to get these Live PG Tour guys back together. This is just scary. Some of these things. I don't know.
Producer Vic likes the Blue Jays to win the World Series plus 1,000. He's got Bieber fever, he says.
I'm actually pretty excited for I'm pretty excited for the October this year. The watching the Jays in the playoffs. I think there's going to be some buzz around them. Let's jump on that one then. Let's just take a nice little futures bet with the Jays.
Sounds good, buddy. Any big plans for the weekend, or just chilling at the cabin here?
Yeah, chilling at the cabin. I'm just in complete limbo right now with doctors and surgeons, and it's kind of a slow process, but trying to get myself healthy, and this is a good place to do it. You're grounding all the time. You're in the water, which is a very healing environment. So yeah, doing some hippie stuff this weekend, I guess you could say.
Awesome stuff, and looking forward to next week. As we mentioned, we're going to phase down in shows per week moving forward here in the month of August, down to 2 shows a week. We'll be with you next on Tuesday, and then after that on Thursday. So we'll leave it at that. Everybody in the chat, everybody on social media, you guys are great in this exercise today. A lot of scorching hot takes, so appreciate that. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosal, I'm Nick Alberga, and again, we'll talk again on Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosal. We simply have it all, and don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.